As a marketing consultant and small business builder, Taylor's the founder of NG, though you might recognize her from one of her other companies, Tailored Media and Designs and Source Co. In her newest endeavor, Taylor is taking everything she has learned over nearly a decade of helping small businesses with marketing to design and build a suite of online marketing tools that fit your lifestyle and make sense for you. Because while you didn't sign up to be chief marketing officer of your business, at NG, they believe becoming one doesn't have to be so daunting. And our goal is to empower you with the tools and solutions you need to make more informed decisions. Use your resources more effectively and get creative with how you connect with customers and ultimately grow.
Hey, Javers. So today we are chatting with Taylor to break down marketing strategies and marketing routines for small businesses to help level up their marketing game. Hi, Taylor.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me on as a guest. I'm so excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, we're excited to chat with you as well. So, Taylor, tell us a little bit more about NG and what you guys do.
So, NG is basically me as a human marketing consultant turned into software, which is a very strange experience to go through where, it's not very often. I mean, I guess some people who have created courses and different resources have, turned a part of their brain into something that's more physical in the digital sense, but not very many people have tried to take like all of the entirety of their expertise and turn it into software that other people are going to use and judge the shit out of. And so that is my unique experience that I'm living right now. But NG is marketing software for small business owners who have to do their own marketing and are not marketing experts. And it's really inspired by all of the clients that I've had over the past 9 years of being a small business marketing consultant, which a lot of my clients have been in the wedding industry. And so I just have heard every excuse, every like frustration, every challenge, every problem of marketing is so hard. I hate it. I don't want to do it. Like, so, can someone just please do it for me? And the reality is most people can't afford to outsource all of their marketing, even sometimes pieces of it. And so what I really wanted to do was to create something that empowers people to do it on their own and feel like they're not doing a shitty job of it, because marketing has really historically lived in 7 different tabs across someone's computer, which means taking all these bits and pieces and really understanding the machine that you're trying to build is that much harder. So NG is bringing all of these pieces into one place. And then, with me turned into the software, there's lots of guidance along the way as well. But so that's what we are. And we're not even 1 years old yet at the time of this recording. So, we're still like the teeniest, tiniest little baby startup.
That's so exciting. So, when someone like logs in as a business owner, what's sort of on the platform? What are they kind of getting with NG?
So, okay, I'm gonna say that I've got my soft kid gloves on. I'm saying this with all the love, folks. But basically, no one has a marketing strategy, and everyone is out there doing their marketing, like marketing by accident, right? You just kind of happenstance do things on occasion, intermittently, without any sort of real intention. And so, a core function of what NG is helping you create a marketing strategy, and all you have to do is play a game of 20 questions to do that. So like, I'm not asking anyone to sit down and try to like create the marketing universe for themselves, because I know no one has time for that. But that's really the first thing that anyone is going to see when they create their account. And then, at a click of a button, you have your strategy, and then all of a sudden you have this calendar that's populated with all sorts of marketing ideas and tasks that you can do. I'm not offended if you delete some of them. Like, please feel free. Like, I think that's one of the things sometimes people are scared to do. They're like, oh, well, I should do the plan as NGA spits out the plan. I'm like, no, like, I don't know what your actual life is like. So please customize it to fit what you need to do. But from there, it's really just about like all of the tools, or most of the tools, are really centered around how do we get people into this routine of doing their marketing, because that's so clutch to actually, finger quote, keeping up and staying consistent with it all.
And I have to say, I logged in for the free trial yesterday. So I was like, I want to take a look, and see, really jump in, see what this is all about. Cause you can read about it, but you need to go in and test it for yourself. And I will say, Taylor and we were talking before we started recording. I was blown away. I ended up DMing Taylor on Instagram and I was like, wait, this is insane. Um, exactly what you said. You answer a few questions. They were like kind of fun to answer too, because they're about the brand, they're about us, they're about who our audience is. And I did it on behalf of Just Another Biz podcast because I was like, this is fun. We're like a brand new business. We're trying to have get a bigger reach. Let's see what NG suggests. And sure enough, like I uploaded our logo, which is kind of our temporary Canva logo for now, our brand colors, some photos of Kari and I went over to the social media or the kind of the content creator and filled in our voice. So I wrote a quick paragraph, how we would write a caption. And NG said, okay, great. Our voice is enthusiastic, welcoming, fun, like something like that. And so it then created an Instagram post in our brand voice. And I was like, done, mic drop. This is a game changer. This is insane. So we'll obviously we have so much more to talk about, but we'll put some information on how people can get access to the free trial in our show notes, because every business owner needs to test this out. This is wild. So first of all, congrats, Taylor. And you're just like not even a year old. So this is going to be big.
It makes me so happy when people are like, exploding head emoji over things. Cause, it's nothing like what we're doing really exists yet. And that feeds into a whole different side of like imposter syndrome that goes on in my being of like, does this not exist because someone tried it and failed? So I'm either like crazy for trying it or stupid for trying this, or am I like a crazy genius for it? Like, I don't know. On any given day, I bounce back and forth between I'm insane for trying this and I'm also a genius for trying it. I don't know. But I love seeing people's reactions to the tools when they're first getting in there, because it's like I'm a former actual like classroom teacher, and it's the equivalent of seeing the switch flip in a student's mind when you just see them start to get it. And that makes me so happy when like we can truly make something that's been kind of abstract and also very overwhelming for a lot of people, something to turning it into something that's more tangible and manageable at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think kind of to that point, I feel like that's a good segue of like having your caption written for you with AI. And I think that's something Gabby and we've tried to talk about in the past. And then we're like, we don't know anything about this disclaimer. We're just trying to like throw out our 2 cents. But I think it is something that a lot of business owners are skeptical of, or they're like nervous to use. I mean, I'm one of those people. I've started diving into it more this year. But it's kind of like I don't know exactly what to do or like how to utilize this in my business. And so we'd love to kind of get your thoughts on AI and how business owners can kind of dive into that without having to be afraid of it, or how they can best utilize it in their business.
So I love answering this question because AI is super abstract. Like what even is it? And thankfully, luckily, my spouse, who is one of my co-founders, has been running global AI teams for companies. Maybe you've heard of them, Amazon and Intuit, for like 5 years. So it's part of the reason that our AI is really good. But so I know more than your average person when it comes to, okay, well, what actually is artificial intelligence and how does it operate? But, we are actually really, truly living through a technological revolution right now, because AI is changing almost on a daily basis. And so it is totally okay and normal to feel very overwhelmed by what this is. And, since it came onto the scene, at least the generative AI that we know kind of colloquially. You can leave that in because whatever. That's a hard word to say, and I managed to use it.
Props for trying to use it.
Yeah, we're trying to use it, really eloquently, which I did not do, but whatever. We all know generative AI is like ChatGPT, right? And ever since that came onto the scene, it's like, oh my God, AI is everywhere. But I like to take a half step back with folks and help you realize that we've been using artificial intelligence in our everyday lives for a very long time. So it's not actually something that's new. Like Netflix recommendations in your account, that's a form of artificial intelligence, right? Like, because all of us, when we log into our accounts, are getting different recommendations. So there is an artificial intelligence working in the background to figure out, okay, well, what does Gabby like? What does Kari like? What does Tayler like? If you have a car with lane assist or that can parallel park itself, that's another form of artificial intelligence. And then, Siri, Alexa, Roombas, those are all things that use AI to operate. But what's different about something like ChatGPT and NG's AI copywriter is it's generative AI. And so like your Roomba isn't creating anything new with what it's learning, right? Like it learns the floor plan of your home so it doesn't like go tumbling down a flight of stairs, but it's not creating interior design, mood boards for you from what it knows about your space, or saying like, you should really move your couch over here because it would be more feng shui. It's not doing that. But what generative AI can do is it takes what you give it to teach it and it creates something new from it. And so that's kind of the really mind-blowing piece of what artificial intelligence is now. And I can see my phone just off screen. I said Siri, and like my little Siri bubble is, I was like, what is going on my phone screen over there? But so the easiest way for people to get started with artificial intelligence really is with an AI copywriter, right? Like it's the easiest thing to do because all you need to do is give it some instructions and hit go, and then you watch it write things in an insanely fast pace. It's like a fraction of the time, right? You can get a blog post in a draft of probably 600 words is what NG will spit out in like 15 seconds or something like that. And you've got a draft done and you're like,
insane.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
But so, I hope that now that people realize that they've been using AI for a long time, that it's not this super crazy, scary thing. But if it still is, find me on the internet and we'll talk more, because I don't want it to be a crazy, scary thing. Because it's going to be an extremely useful tool for all of us moving forward.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kari, go ahead.
I was just going to say really quick to that point, I feel like if you're not getting on board, like I've had this conversation a lot with other people and my husband of like, if you're not getting on board now, your business is staying stagnant, right? And so it's like, if you don't want to get on board with the changing of technology, it's going to be a lot harder for you to grow your business. And so I feel old when I say that sometimes of like, I was stuck of like, I don't really want to do that. It just felt like another overwhelming thing to do. But now that I've like used it more, it feels easier. Right. So I'm like, oh, actually, that is really nice to have like a caption written for me and everything. And so I think it's just letting go of the fear of like adding another thing to your plate when really it's supposed to be more helpful.
Totally. And I think one of the things that I want to really drill into people's heads is that AI is an accelerant. And to your point of if you don't use it, your business is going to become stagnant. It kind of doesn't matter what your service or product is. But let's just take photographers, for example. When you're trying to deliver a gallery of images to a client, if you're editing all of those images by hand, it takes a lot of human hours to do. But now Photoshop and other tools like I think it's Imagine AI, they make the editing process go super fast. And so then on your client side, your client experience is the expectation of how quickly they're going to receive their gallery that timeline is gonna shrink. And if you refuse, if you're that old stodgy person who's like, kids these days, their newfangled technologies, like if you're that person, your business is eventually just going to die because you're not keeping up with what the customer demands are. And so it is just kind of like the brutal truth that we all need to be figuring out how we leverage artificial intelligence to our advantage to save us time, but also to keep up with the bigger market and what it's doing.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you, not that you are the I consider you the AI queen, but I know you don't necessarily know all the answers about AI, so please feel free to skip this if you don't know the answer. But I think the two big concerns that we're seeing for small businesses with AI is one, they are afraid to use it word for word, like as a blog post. And so, question one is, what are the limitations? What are the restrictions when NG or ChatGPT comes up with a caption? Can we use it as is? Is there something we need to credit? All that kind of stuff. And the second part is, I think there's a lot of worry about jobs being taken away, right? But when has there not been? Every time we evolve, every time we industrialize, revolutionize, whatever you want to call it, jobs have been lost, replaced with technology, but new jobs have been created with that technology. So just curious your thoughts on those two things.
Yeah. So, if I'm meeting folks for the first time, a lot of my career has been spent as a copywriter. Like people have paid me lots of money over these past 9 years to write for them. And here I am now, the founder of a startup who created an AI copywriter as a feature. And I was extremely conflicted about it when we were building it out. I mean, I knew that we needed to have it because I knew and I know how powerful it is, because basically everyone I've ever talked to, they say they hate writing. And I'm like, cool, like I get it. But so I personally have felt this like AI is coming for my job. And oh my God. But there are things, I think I'm going to make an assumption that most of the listeners, most jabbers, right? Is that what you call them? Jabbers? Most of the jabbers out
That was
there.
our coin term, yeah.
Yes. Trademarks TM.
TM.
Jabbers TM. I'm gonna guess that most jabbers are in the more creative space when it comes to like this pocket of small business and entrepreneurship. And artificial intelligence right now, I mean, I can't speak for what it's going to be in 10 years, but right now it's not great at creative. Like I don't know if you Google like AI image fails or something like that, or you see like pictures of like handshake, like an AI doesn't understand how to create an image of two people shaking hands. It's like there's 7 fingers on one and they're like holding their arms all weird. And so at this point in time, I don't think anybody needs to be concerned that an AI is going to take their job. In the long term, like I said, I don't know how crazy good this or bad. I mean, we could talk about singularity and whether or not the robots are going to take over the world and the humans are going to lose. That's another conversation. But, we don't know how this tool is going to change over the next decade, because it's just happening so fast. And honestly, I don't think anyone can answer that question. But it is a tool that if you're worried about it taking your job, then that is the clearest signal for you to become more than proficient at how artificial intelligence is being used in your space, right? Like that's just you got to do it. If you're worried at all, figure it out so that you don't let the technology basically deprecate you. Like you become the expert who's like, well, I can use this and I can use it the best. So that's what I say to that piece. The other piece about, what to look for with artificial intelligence and whether or not you should just like, let it create something and then take the words and, paste it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. The answer is never, never do that. And there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, artificial intelligence the algorithm behind the model, and that's like more technical than anyone probably wants to get, but basically it's trained on a huge data set that you can understand as like a pretty big portion of the internet. That's its data set. So the internet is kind of like a weird, freaky deaky place. Like every facet of humanity is there, and you will find the good, the bad, and the ugly of who we are as humans in digital content form. So if an artificial intelligence tool is using that as its data set and what it has learned, then yeah, it's also going to include some freaky deaky, weird, good, bad, and the ugly stuff, because it's learning from us. And so there's this thing called, I mean, they've coined it AI hallucinations, where we as people just for whatever reason innately trust that whatever the artificial intelligence produces is fact. It's correct. Like we can trust it. And you really shouldn't ever trust it. So whenever you are using AI to produce especially written content, you need to review it, revise it, and add in your touch, because it can produce biased content, just like, you know, again, because we've trained it to be, you know, not so great in some ways. So that's kind of the big thing that you need to be aware of, is not ever just hitting, you know, copy, paste, and publish. That's the absolute worst thing that you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
thanks.
find even using captions, I'm like, well, it doesn't quite sound like me. And so I feel like, but it's helpful to have like the gist of like, oh, that sounds much better from a marketing perspective, but maybe I'm not so like emoji heavy and jazzy as the AI, you know, is writing. So I feel like it is nice to have like an outline almost that I can like change out words and things to make my own.
Okay, let's talk marketing strategy. First, in your experience, Taylor, what has been the struggle when it comes to marketing strategy for small businesses? So you've obviously worked with a ton of people in person and doing, you know, very personalized strategies for people, and now turned that over to NG to do it for you, which again, mind blown. I still think about it. But what are kind of the struggles that you're seeing most small businesses come to you with when it comes to their marketing?
Yeah, you know, the first one is the big deep breath, and just like everyone's fighting time. It's the thing that we don't have enough of, we want more of, we feel like it's constantly taken from us. And so because we're all fighting time, the biggest struggle that I see is on the consistency side. That so many people are like, man, I just can't be consistent with my marketing. And so if that is you, you are not alone. It's like everybody. So, you know, that's just it's because most of us as a small business owner or partner or co-founder or whatever, we all are responsible for more than one thing. We don't just get to like be a subject matter expert and do this all day long. We have to context switch 100 million times throughout the day, you know, personally and professionally. And, you know, there's always like, someone's always throwing an emergency at us, right? Like, is it really an emergency? I don't know. Again, conversations for a later date. But so the fighting time and to stay consistent is a huge struggle for everyone. The other one is just with marketing, it's like in particular, there's this extreme decision fatigue or even avoidance that I see people have. Like they don't, I think because they don't want it to be their responsibility, and it kind of like turns into a resentment that, you know, like I started my business because I wanted to plan events or do flowers or take photos. And now I've got to do this thing called marketing, right? Like it gets wound up, and people convince themselves that they're not qualified enough to make marketing decisions. Or on the other end of the spectrum, just straight up, you are asked to make so many decisions every day that you're like, please don't ask me any more questions. Like, I don't have any more things in my brain. So those two things together, I think they're big and heavy problems that don't have an easy tonic, right? We can all go to like therapy and do a lot of self-care and somehow really work on our boundaries. But it's like a combination of these intangible things that we'd have to do to get over and through these struggles and problems. But those are the two really big ones.
And I mean, with that of like a lack of time, or I guess maybe it's a perspective of having a lack of time or decision fatigue. I mean, what are some strategies that small business owners can implement for their marketing, right? Because I think for a lot of people, including myself, I'm overwhelmed. I'm on Instagram all day long, but am I posting all the time? No, because I'm just like, oh, I'm too overwhelmed to decide like what to post. And so what would you suggest for business owners like to implement some strategies, kind of knowing those two issues affect a lot of people?
Yeah, so I have been on a soapbox about marketing routines for quite a long time. Well, quite a long time, finger quote, like since NG launched. Because, it's something that I get people say to me in passing a lot is they say, you're so good. You're so good at it. Like you're always everywhere all the time, all at once, like, like the movie. But the asterisk on that, and the reason that no one should ever compare themselves and what they do with marketing to what I do with marketing is my main job. I spend more than half of my week, which is like a 60-hour week. I spend like more than half of my week working on marketing tasks. And that is why I am everywhere, everything all at once on the marketing side of things. Most small business owners tell me that they have 1 to 2 hours a week to work on marketing, and they make a face when they tell me 1 to 2 hours because I think they're lying. Right? Like, I think they're really like, I have 30 minutes, but I don't want to admit that I have 30 minutes that I can dedicate to marketing. So when that is the case, if you're trying to accomplish everything in a very short amount of time, your routine is the thing that is going to keep you consistent. And your routine is the thing that's going to keep you from having to make decision after decision after decision, because you have a routine, right? Like, this is what I'm going to do. Every Tuesday, I do these 3 things in the 2 hours that I have. And then I'm done until next Tuesday, where I'm going to do it again. And that is how you just dial the temperature way, way down with trying to keep up with marketing without having to just like reinvent the wheel every time you sit down to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny because we're gonna have a whole other episode on routine, like specifically morning routines. But I never thought about, oh, what about like, yeah, marketing routines or your actual day to day work schedule routine. And I know some people talk about time blocking and things like that. And curious, when we get to that episode, we'll have to discuss a little bit about once they start their day, how does that look for them? So, no, thanks for sharing that. And I think it's a habit. It's a habit building. It's the, you know, uh making sure that your brain knows that something you keep doing, and it will take time. Like, I'm sure at the beginning you have to say, okay, it is Tuesday. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to do the 3 things that I said I was going to do. It will take some effort at first to do that and not just doom scroll. But over time, I'm sure your brain will be like, okay, it's Tuesday. Here we go. So,
Yep.
yeah, no, that makes sense. So, okay, with that, what are some key things that business owners overlook or mistakes they make when they're marketing? And I know that'll kind of tie into Kari's next question too. So, Kari, jump in and ask that if it comes up.
Yeah.
mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. It's normal to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. So other things that are important to know that like marketing is an experiment and failure is baked into this process. And so I always like to say that when people ask me about mistakes, because in general, we're just kind of, we're raised since we were really young to try to not make mistakes, right? And so for some of us who are perfectionists, that becomes paralyzing. Like the thought of making a mistake will make you not even try. So that's my, little therapist for you on the shoulder today. But when it comes to the big mistakes, the first one is not tracking any numbers and only making decisions based off of emotion or intuition. And it is your emotions and your intuition and your gut, your gut checks, those 100% have a place in your decision-making process. They are very important tools. Like you should listen to your body when it says something. But when it comes to your business, you can't just operate off of your emotion and intuition all of the time. Like you need to have more confidence than just feeling like it's the right thing to do sometimes. And your numbers then are that thing that you take your initial, like, okay, well, this is what I think we should do because this is what I think we should do. And then you go and you look at your numbers and they will affirm or deny, right? Like this is the right thing to do or this is not the right thing to do. So that's a big mistake. And I think that most people are making the mistake of not tracking their numbers because they think it's another thing that they need to do. But they also don't. One of the questions that I get asked a lot, because NG does have a KPI, which is key performance indicator dashboard, which is not a scary place to track your numbers, but people, it's like the question that will probably never go away is, well, what KPIs should I track? And so if you don't know what KPIs you should track, again, come find me on the internet. We'll get you settled. But like you need to be tracking some sort of numbers. Another big mistake that I see people making is refusing to spend money on their marketing. And I'm going to call out my wedding industry folks on this one specifically, because I don't know who put it in your head that like all of your marketing should be free. But my God, no one is willing to spend money on their marketing in the wedding industry. And it is like, why do you think marketing is so hard? Why do you hate it? Because you like are making it hard for yourself because you are only trying to use organic free tactics. And as someone who spends most of her time marketing, I will tell you with all certainty that the organic and free ones are the ones that are the most time intensive. And so, yeah, like, no wonder everyone feels like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this going faster? Why isn't this more effective? Sometimes you just need to throw money at the problem. And so, like, don't make that mistake of being trapped in I need to spend $0 on my marketing.
And wait, Tayler, so just on that point, would you say for the wedding industry, are you saying pay for like ads, like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, that kind of stuff? Or are you also saying listings, product listings, service listings on accounts? Like, especially the wedding industry, we know there's places where you pay monthly to be listed as something. Is that both? Are you talking about both or one or the other?
I'm definitely talking about both. And
okay,
like sometimes you just need to invest in outsourcing a part of your marketing, like especially for the people listening who are always wondering, why can't I be consistent with this? Like, again, maybe it's time to throw a little money at the problem and hire someone to be consistent with it. So, but yeah, advertising and listings and sponsored content and outsourcing things, like those are all ways that you can spend money, or, sponsoring events or podcasts or whatever, right? Like there are moments in time where paid placement is what you need to do. I mean, it's how the entirety of TV works. So like if the entirety of TV relies on spending money on marketing, like maybe it'll be helpful for you too. And the last mistake that I see people make is just they straight up don't have a strategy to guide them. And so they wake up every morning, and I can't remember if I said this already, but like marketing by accident, they're just like, well, maybe I'll do something today, but I don't know what it would be. And so that definitely still ties back to that decision fatigue and inconsistency problem that folks are just constantly like finding themselves up against. Because if you don't know what your goal is and you haven't mapped out even just a simple plan of how you're going to get there and what it is you need to do, then yeah, it's hard. So don't make those mistakes. Don't not track your numbers. Don't refuse to spend money on your marketing, and don't market your business by accident.
Wow, this is really helpful because I feel like as someone, so I've been in business for 10 years, and I think I've relied more heavily on referrals, like making relationships, and a lot of my business has come from this like organic, so to speak, inquiries and clients and things like that. And yes, I've thrown money at marketing, but I think this year, I know a lot of people are saying I'm getting less inquiries, and they're like, what do I do? And I will say I'm one of those people. And so I have been in this place of like feeling overwhelmed. And I'm like, what should I focus on? Because to your point of like throwing money at something, I think that's my biggest question. I'm like, but what do I throw money at? Because I've done listings in the past and I've wasted tons of money for zero inquiries. And so for myself, and I think a lot of business owners, it's like, yes, I can throw money at the problem, but like, where do I throw that money? And so what would you suggest, like, for business owners to pick like 1 to 2 marketing platforms, or try to implement a strategy for like a bunch of them, or like a single platform? Like where do we how do we pick and choose where to throw our money for marketing?
Yep. Yep. There's going to be, this is a multifaceted answer.
Yes. I
Because
threw
I
a lot
love,
at you. So
no, but I love like how much referring back to like other parts of the conversation I'm doing. That's always the side of a really good chat. So when it comes to the more straightforward part of the question, which is, should you pick 1 to 2 marketing channels to focus on, or should you like try to be everywhere, everything all at once? You definitely should not try to be everything everywhere all at once, because again, you're not spending more than half of your work week doing marketing things. So, and that's what I see happen so often is people with let's be generous and say I have 2 hours a week to work on, to dedicate to marketing tasks. If you have 2 hours a week, my guess is that whole 2 hours is going to be consumed writing 1 blog post, right? Even if you're using an AI copywriter. But your marketing to-do list for that week is write a blog post, pin a bunch of, schedule a bunch of pins on Pinterest, pre-schedule your social media content, and then like do some outreach for a networking event. Like, I know people, if you're not watching, you don't see me going like, like the math doesn't work. The math doesn't work. So if you are on a limited schedule, which is fine, I'm going to be like my dad. The thing that my dad used to tell me at almost every meal, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. So just take what you need, finish it, and you can always go back for more. But like once you put it on your plate, it's on your plate. So that's why I really want people to be realistic with their expectations and how many places that they think that they can actually show up. And for most folks, I definitely don't want people to put all their marketing eggs in one basket, because that's just dangerous, because marketing takes time. And so if you have all your eggs in one basket and all of a sudden it stops working, then you are like kind of you're in a bad spot for getting yourself out of the hole. When it comes to figuring out what marketing channels would be worth throwing money at, This is why I want everyone to track some numbers. Because if you, at minimum, or at a basic level, are tracking how many leads you are getting by marketing channel. So I'm getting like the big ones: Instagram, referrals, maybe you have some sort of paid listing or advertisement, and Google. And maybe you probably should break your referrals down if we're talking about wedding industry folks or anyone that's service-based, like past client referrals and then also professional referrals. So if you're tracking your numbers and you have historical data to show you where most of your leads are coming from, then you can just easily stack rank things and go, okay, well, this one is maybe worth throwing some money at, or this one clearly isn't because it's not giving me any leads organically in the first place. So that's why numbers are so important because like we, as service-based business owners, which is going to be my other assumption that most of the Jebbers are, we get a lot of our business from referrals. But it's like, you don't necessarily, even though you know that that's true, you don't have a very clear understanding of like where those referrals are coming from. And so your numbers will show you where it's worth investing your time, your money, or your energy.
That's so helpful. I feel like, depending on, for me, like, where people do their inquiry form, I ask people how they have found us. And so there are good numbers. Have I looked at that in a while? I don't know. But I think, if you're not tracking your numbers, now's the time to start, or, even looking at social media stats and seeing how things are performing. And that's such good advice.
Yeah, most people ask, how did you find me in an inquiry or a contact form? But then it's not documented anywhere, right? Like that inquiry email goes and dies in the depths of your inbox, never to be seen again. And so if you don't, it's just like a tick, you're ticking it off, right? This, that, and the other, month over month. Then you can really be in a situation or a place where you can make really smart decisions for yourself. And that's what we're all chasing. We want to make smart decisions that help us be efficient and effective with whatever it is we're doing. And marketing is just this weird special place where people stick their head in the sand and they just like cross their fingers and hope that it's all going to turn out for the best.
Yeah, and the data tracking, like you're saying, I think some of us have the information somewhere, but it's on like a Google sheet in some folder that never sees the light of day. And when I was kind of clicking around NG, I was like, okay, everything is here. Like, yes, you have to take a moment to upload all the things. And I haven't gotten to the KPI section yet, but I imagine it would be like I have to input some numbers, but at least the data will be there and I don't have to create my own graphs. The graphs are there. I just have to put my monthly numbers in as I see them pop up, quickly log them in, and then you guys on the other end, or the robots, whoever is doing it, I'm sure the humans are looking over these numbers too, but they're coming together uh, with the data, with the analysis part of it. And I'm sure that is then going to create some to-dos for us in the strategy portion too. Because the other cool thing about NG was on the homepage, on the dashboard, it was telling me every day my to-dos, like go and create your Google My Business. Like that's specific. And I love that because some people are like, okay, go build your brand. And then you're like, how? I thought I did that. But no, go create your Google My Business. Great. You did that. Come check this off and move on to the next. So like, anyway, I really appreciate the level of detail that you put into NG. And walking us through. There's a ton of tutorial videos that I saw. There's a help chat thing. So if anybody doesn't understand the to-do is or a part of the strategy, they can go and talk to a human or watch some tutorial video. So yeah, I'm literally 2 days into this and I already am learning so much. And we're going to have you back at a later time to talk about how our Just Another Biz podcast strategy has grown and like really truly how it's helped us develop our marketing strategy.
I would love that. I'm so excited. One of my, or I will say my favorite review that we've gotten so far about NG is that someone said that I don't hate marketing anymore. And considering everyone has told me for like ad infinitum for the past nearly decade, I hate marketing, I'm like, that was the one that made me like feel all of the feels. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited I mean, like it is literally me guiding you, but then also like in the help chat, like if you need help, like it is literally me here to guide you still. So, it is a really fantastic way for me to have an opportunity to support way more small business owners than I ever would have had the opportunity to if I was still doing things, the old fashioned way of creating one-off strategies for folks.
Yeah. Well, Tayler, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, this was such a good conversation, but what would you say are kind of your top tips, maybe, one or two that listeners can leave today and go implement right away?
Ooh, oh man, I have to pick.
Besides throwing your money at
I
something.
know, besides throwing your money at something, I think the thing that I just across kind of all of my businesses have been a broken record about is having a strategy. And so I do want people to create a strategy, whatever like way you decide to go about it is all on you. If you want to hire a consultant to create a strategy for you, great. If you want to buy a template and do it yourself, great. If you want to use NG, great. I just want you to have a strategy. Like that is my wish for the universe. So create that because it is going to give you so much clarity and then also the confidence to like go do the things. And the second one is that routine. Establish some sort of routine for yourself that is very realistic for the time constraints that you've got. And I promise you, if you stick with it, if you commit, like I can't make you commit other than like I want, just like I want for you to have a strategy, I want for you to commit to your marketing. I want you to commit, and over time, like if you consistently work on your visibility, right? Like staying top of mind, like you will reap the rewards of that. But you have to have the routine and you have to commit to it.
I love that. Tayler, where can we find you and where can we find NG? And more specifically, how can people get started with NG?
So I am a geriatric millennial, so you will find me on Instagram. Don't try to find me on TikTok. I won't reply there because I'm like never on it. But NG's Instagram account is ENJI_CO. And our website is ng.co. And everyone can go there and start a free trial. You get 14 days for free. You can use all of the tools. And the only thing that has a limitation on it is how many times you can use the AI copywriter. Because we don't want, I mean, we love you, but also please don't rack up our open AI bill just by letting people get in there crazy. But yeah, so get in there, try it out. You can get your marketing strategy in like 10 minutes. Even if you're dragging your feet answering that questionnaire, it's like so fast. But I would love for everyone to give it a go and tell me what you loved. Tell me what you think we can do better. Tell me what you think like we could build that doesn't exist yet, because that's what we're here to do. We really, truly want to build a platform that makes marketing way more manageable for small business owners.
And you are.
Yeah. I'm gonna go sign up for my own free trial for for my business. So this is such a good conversation. I feel like it has helped bring a lot of clarity, even just for my marketing ideas. And, really just I love what you said, like have a strategy, look at your numbers, and go from there.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. This was such a fun conversation. I mean, like my cheeks are tired because I've been smiling so much. That's a good sign of a great chat.
Yes. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Tayler.